Hey, next on the T Nation, thanks for coming back and tuning into this very special bonus segment of the show featuring my conversation with former Houston Oilers Pro Bowl quarterback and Houston Sports Hall of Famer, Dan Pastorini. And Dan also happens to be a member of our Guest Hall of Fame over on Thursday Night Tailgate as well. Dan has been a great friend for many years. He first joined us 12 and a half years ago now, March 15, 2012. So for over a dozen years, Dan has been coming on the show and sharing his stories and his life and his journey through the game, and then all the things that he did post his NFL career, drag racing specialist, and other things that he got involved in. He is one of the most interesting people you will ever meet. His story is fantastic. He's written a wonderful book that you can get all of those details in. It's called Taking Flak, My Life in the Fast Lane. So go grab yourself a copy of that book and read about his life. It's just absolutely fascinating, the things that he has done and the things that he has achieved over the course of his life. A guy that was the number 3 overall selection back in 1971 by the Houston Oilers, played for them and the Raiders, the Rams, the Eagles. Big trade that happened between the Oilers and Raiders, essentially a swap between those two for the quarterbacks. Kenny Stabler ended up going over to Houston. Dan went out to Oakland and then had a interesting, if you will, relationship with Al Davis. So much to get into with Dan. This time around, we're going to focus on his golf tournament. He's got a wonderful charity golf event that he does every year. We'll get into that. You'll hear that wonderful story. We'll also talk about his induction into the Houston Sports Hall of Fame, the relationship that he had with Joe Green, and the mutual respect between the old Houston Oilers teams of the late 70s and those Pittsburgh Steelers teams. Very excited to have Dan back as part of the show. So sit back, relax, let us take your mind off everything else going on in your life for the next 30 minutes or so. Okay, before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. TribLive.com is the leading news website for Western Pennsylvania with news around the clock. Pittsburgh pro sports coverage, a high school sports network, a podcast network, which you can find next on the T on. So go out and bookmark TribLive.com or download the Trib Live app for free and stay up to date with all the news in Western Pennsylvania and this show. I also want to talk about our friends over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company and Iron City Beer, a brand that I have loved my whole life and started drinking when I was 21 years old, of course. Whether you're a hacker or a scratcher, the secret to a successful day on the links is knowing when it's time to grab an iron, even if that means keeping it in the bag till the 19th hole. If it's been a while since you've reached for Pittsburgh staple beer, it's time to revisit Iron City. Thanks to their incredible new facility in Creighton, the best-tasting Iron City beer ever made is now available at a course near you. Iron City pairs well with any lie and sky and serves as a friendly reminder that there's always next round. Iron City beer, best enjoyed while enjoying life. And this fall, get ready to experience a game like never before at the Keep, the brand new Bill Bergen and Reese Jones co-designed course at Macklemore. Nestled high atop Lookout Mountain, the Keep offers breathtaking vistas that are made even more spectacular as the autumn colors paint the landscape in rich hues of red, orange, and gold. With its challenging layout and awe-inspiring views, every round here is an unforgettable adventure. Whether you're taking on the signature holes or just soaking in the scenery, the Keep is where your best golf meets nature's finest backdrop. So grab your clubs and join us at Macklemore this fall. The Keep is open for preview play, and it's waiting for you. Okay, now back in making his 10th appearance with me is former Houston Oilers Pro Bowl quarterback Dan Pastorini. Dan has been one of my favorite guests since the first time we had him over on the football side on our Thursday Night Tailgate show, which was 12 and a half years ago on March 15, 2012. So I've been blessed to know Dan for over a dozen years now. Let me remind you about his background. He's from San Francisco, played his college ball at Santa Clara, where he was inducted into their Hall of Fame in 1990. And this is going to become a theme. Just wait a minute and you'll find out why. Dan was a first-round draft pick and number 3 overall selection in 1971 by the Houston Oilers. Played in the NFL from 1971 to 1983 with the Oilers, Raiders, Rams, and Eagles. He was selected to the Pro Bowl in 1975. Dan was a tough quarterback. He only missed 5 games from 1971 to 1979, playing through broken ribs, a punctured lung, played on a broken tibia, plus several concussions. He was the first player to ever wear a flak jacket in order to protect those broken ribs. After football, Dan raced hydroplane boats and he drove in drag races. One here in Atlanta at the NHRA Southern Nationals in 1986. He's written a book titled Taking Flak, My Life in the Fast Lane, which you can go find out on Amazon.com. In 2019, he was inducted into the Houston Sports Hall of Fame. He's also in the San Jose Sports Hall of Fame, the East-West Shrine Bowl Hall of Fame, and most importantly, elected to our Thursday Night Tailgate Guest Hall of Fame in 2018. I couldn't be more honored that I get to spend more time with him this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Dan, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Chris. It's really great to be back with you too.
So, Dan, obviously, this is a golf show, and I know you've got a passion for the game of golf. We'll talk about some of your playing career in the NFL a little bit later on, but tell me, how'd you first get started playing golf?
Actually, I went to a boarding high school when I was young. I went to Bellarmine College Prep, and one of my roommates was Bob Burns, who was also a football player, good wide receiver, and was a golfer on the golf team. And being that we played, a sport that was manly and all that stuff, and he took a lot of grief until he got me out on the golf course one day and showed me how uh, untalented I really was. I've always been blessed with natural athletic ability to kind of, I could pick things up pretty quickly to this day. And I've been playing it since, oh gosh, I was about 17 or 18 when I took it up. And I'm still, like a 13 handicap. I just can't master that game, and it kills me not to, but I keep trying. I'll go out there and, there's that one shot that you go, where the hell did that come from? And why can't I do that all the time? But it's really I have a friend of mine, Dave Bisbee, who's out at Six Canyons in Arizona. And I've known him for years, and he has the greatest term an explanation of golf. He said it's a simple game played by complex people, and it's very true.
So, you talk about how you're still trying to master this thing and that one great shot. Has there been a time when you've been out on the golf course that the golf gods shined on you particularly well? You had that one round, you had that one great shot, you made a hole in one, something like that that you really love looking back on?
I've got two stories there. One about the hole in one. Remind me to tell you that about my father. Um, yes, I was playing one day, and I was playing lights out, and I started thinking I'm on the 18th tee, and I said, "My God, I'm even par," and I triple bogeyed the hole.
Okay, don't
So,
do that.
that's the old, don't think about it, just go out and do it. But it was funny, years later, my father was, a good baseball player in California, and in the city leagues. He was a butcher by trade, and we had a restaurant and everything else. And he had open heart surgery. So I'm sitting here, I'm the typical son trying to con his father into getting him more outside, keeping him away from the kitchen. So I brought him out one day. We're playing Riverside Country Club out in Morgan Hill, California. And so I'm sitting there playing, and I could just see the curiosity in his face. I said, "Dad, you want to try it?" "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me try it. Let me try it." So he gets up there, he tees the ball up, and he gets the baseball grip, and he stands about 3 feet behind the ball and strides into it like any baseball player would on a teed ball for baseball. And he whiffed it like 16 times, and he started laughing. We both started laughing. I said, "I'll make you a deal. I'll get you a set of clubs if you take up the game and get outside and start playing." He says, "Okay, deal, but get your mother a set too." I go, "Why? She's not athletic. Get her a set too." I said, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." So he went out and he played every day, and he got down to about 9 handicap after about a year and a half.
Wow.
So get this. He calls me up. This is about 2 or 3 years later after taking him out. And he says, he called me Willie because Willie Mays was my hero growing up as a kid. He said, "Hey, Willie, how long you been playing this golf game?" "I don't know, Dad, about, I don't know, 20 years or so, 25 years. Why? How many holes in ones you got?" I go, "Don't." 135-yard par three with a 5 iron. He got a hole in one.
Wow.
I'm still searching for it.
Me too. My father hadn't had one his whole life, and then all of a sudden now he's got like six or seven.
Yeah, I
And
know. They,
I'm
they, they come in droves, I guess.
right. So,
Yeah.
Dan, obviously you're in around the Houston area. You're from San Francisco, California. A lot of great golf courses. I'm sure you had an opportunity to go out and play. Where are some of the big courses? What are some of the great courses that you've really enjoyed getting an opportunity to play on?
Well, naturally the big courses like River Oaks and out here in the wood. I live in the Woodlands, and we've got several courses out here. We got the TPC course. We've got the Jack Nicklaus course. In fact, I live at the entrance to the player golf course. Here is the road to the left leads into our complex here in the Woodlands. There's just so many great golf courses around the state. Played, gosh, I played all the courses that all the opens were played at. Naturally, I can't think of the names. The one in San Antonio, the one in Austin. There are just so many great courses around here. But we're blessed. We're blessed with the weather. We get good weather year round, except for the heat stroke time. But we're starting to get a little bit milder weather now. I just played yesterday with Todd Callis, the announcer for the Astros, and Steve Sparks, and we played at Brayburn Country Club, which is a real nice course. And I had to leave early, thank God, because I was hitting balls all over the place and I was running out of balls. I was getting embarrassed.
I imagine you've played in a ton of pro-am celebrity events over the years. What are some of the favorite events that you've had an opportunity to be a part of?
We used to have a thing called the Quarterbacks Club, and it was put together by a fellow in Hollywood. Got us quarterbacks together with these big corporate executives, and we fly all over the place. We played in Puerto Rico and Cancun and um, Vegas and all these great places. But it was a lot. It was a lot of fun. You got to meet a lot of good guys. We had a lot of the quarterbacks on that group. I mean, Johnny Unitas, Bart Starr, Lynn Dickey, Joe Namath, Burt Jones, you name it. Everybody was there. Um, but it was a fun group. But I have a little golf tournament every year that raises money for Being Angel Foundation, which I'm chairman of, and we just had our event last week, and we had it over here at a place called uh, what's the name of that?
Highland Pines?
Island Pines. Thank you very much. And it's a really nice course. It's at New Zoysia grass, and everybody was very impressed with it. And hopefully we can have it back there again next year. And we just want to help these kids, these special needs kids that need special equipment and adaptive care and equipment that they need to help improve their quality of life. And I'm blessed because I have so many friends, but on both sides of the ball. You mentioned earlier in our private conversation, Chris, about Joe Green. Joe Green has been coming every year, and Joe Green's a dear friend of mine. I love him to death. And there are a lot of guys on that Pittsburgh Steelers team that we played each other toward the end there. We played them 3 times in a year, and you don't come out unscathed playing those guys 3 times. And a lot of times we went into those AFC championship games and we were all wounded, them as well as us. But we had some great battles. We really did, in battles that are memorable by not only the players, but by the fans as well, too.
And I want to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute, but I want to continue with the thought about your celebrity golf invitational. You mentioned it's supporting Be an Angel and that organization. You've been doing it, I believe, for 16 years now.
That's
T-
correct.
Talk about that organization and how you got involved with them.
Well, we got involved with them back in oh the 80s, mid 80s, with the NFL Players Association or Alumni Association. Used to have these golf tournaments all around the country, and for needy kids and all that stuff. And they made the mistake of making me the golf chairman one year. So I organized everything. We got the money in and everything else, and I saw where the money went. And the charity was not getting anything. So I said, okay, this is not right. So they asked me if I'd do it again next year because it was the best year we had. And I've got a lady that I've worked with for years, Colleen Mackey, who I literally have known her longer than any woman in my life, including my mother. And she is the madame of organizing golf tournaments. She's 82 years old, and I love her to death. And she just works her butt off for these kids. So we had our own tournament, and I'm happy to say, you said 16 years ago, and in that 16 years, we raised over $2.5 million, and all of it has gone to those kids. And we haven't tallied up this year yet, but I'm anticipating it being 180,000 plus more. So I'm very proud of the charity and our volunteers and our sponsors, especially, and our celebrities that come and make this all possible.
So let's take that last bit a little bit further. You mentioned Joe Green came out and played in it. Who are
Yeah.
some of the other players and celebrities that come out to help you support this charity?
Oh, Johnny Rowland came out. We got Robert Brazil, we got Vernon Perry, we got Billy White Shoes Johnson, we've got Goose Gossage, Steve Sparks, Larry Durker.
Wow.
We've got some
Yeah.
boys out here. Yeah, we got some big talented guys, and Mike Rozier. We've got some really good people, and they show up and show out every single year.
I got to ask you, I know that Al Del Greco, who's another Oilers legend, I know he came into the league the year after you retired and really didn't become an Oiler until 1991, but a great golfer, won several times out on the Celebrity Tour.
Yeah.
Did you ever get an opportunity to play alongside Al?
No, I probably refused it because I'd embarrass him myself. I saw him play. I saw him play in a couple of those charity games. I know the celebrity games and in Tahoe. And I'm telling you, that all those celebrities are good though. Not just him. All those celebrities are pretty good golfers.
Right. All right, so I got to sneak in a couple of football questions, and you've brought up Joe Green a couple of times. And as you know, the show is hosted on the Pittsburgh Tribune review site at triblive.com. And I know in the late 80s, the Steelers-Oilers rivalry was one of the best in all of football. You guys would split games with the Steelers in the regular season in 77, 78, 79, get into an AFC championship, like you mentioned, playing those guys 3 times. But how heated were the games between the two of you?
They were heated. They were heated, about as heated as you can heat. And a lot of respect, though. A lot of respect. I mean, I remember one time, every time we played the Steelers, we just kind of took the attitude, okay, it's going to be bloody and we're going to have a lot of injuries the next week. And one time we played them in the Dome down here, and I got knocked out of the game. Bradshaw got knocked out of the game. John Hadle got knocked out of the game. And I think Terry Hanratty got knocked out of the game. And oh God, what's his I'm blank on his name now. Too many head injuries. The coach for the Baltimore Colts, Tony Dungy. Winds up playing quarterback. Guido Merkins winds up playing quarterback for us. I think I don't know. I don't even know who won the game. To be honest with you, but it was like 10-7, and Tony Dungy had a pick 6 and threw for a touchdown, so it had to be more than 10 points. But it was the only player in history to do that. The next day, there were 24 people from both teams on the injury list. Wow. It was bloody when you played those guys, and we just, they were tough, but we got screwed the last year. But I don't want to get into that. But that pass, literally, that one pass changed the game. And all those football fans, NFL fans out there, you can cuss me all you want because we brought instant replay into the game and it slowed the game down maybe. But that was a very important play to us. And that could have cost us the Super Bowl. It did cost us the Super Bowl. I felt we could have beat them. I thought our defenses were evenly matched. We were wounded on both sides of the ball, and their offense and our offense as well. Campbell had a pulled groin. Kenny Burrow had a pulled groin. I had a pulled groin. And we were just, it was a bunch of old battle-ready people out there fighting their butts off. And it was a great game, but except for that call.
Dan, as I was looking back at things in prep for the show, I saw a video, I believe, of the 79 AFC Championship game where you were walking off the field, maybe being helped off the field by John Banaszak and Joe Green. By that point, it seemed like there was a very healthy respect for you from the Steelers defense, and I know Joe was in the audience, as we talked about earlier, when you were inducted into the Houston Sports Hall of Fame, which I think speaks volumes about the respect that both teams had for each other.
It was, and you'll see Joe Green pat me on the face, and he said, "You got screwed today, buddy." He said, "Don't you keep your head up and you walk out of here proud." I said, "You guys go win it then for us. Keep our division out there as the champions." That was very very meaningful to me.
The year prior in the 78 AFC Championship game, you guys were in that as well. And I had Rocky Blyer on the show a few weeks ago. And I was asking Rocky if that was the most miserable he'd ever been on a football field. It had snowed leading up to the game in Pittsburgh. They melted the snow. And now it's water all over the AstroTurf and Three River Stadium. The field is saturated. Temperatures were in the 20s. Every time someone got tackled, water from the puddles on the field splattered everywhere. Everyone's soaking wet in that 20-degree weather. He said no matter what he did, he couldn't get warm that whole game, and it was the most miserable he had ever been on a football field. I have to imagine it was the same for you guys.
It was miserable. I mean, there's no better word than that to describe it. It was the most frustrating day of playing football I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, you couldn't hold the ball. Your hands are frozen. You couldn't hold the ball to begin with. It was like had Vaseline on it, and it was just miserable. I mean, you get tackled and you'd slide in the slush for about 10 yards, and you couldn't get warm. You were just soaking wet, and it's freezing out. It was a survival game, and we aren't used to that. But I don't know of anybody that could be used to that kind of weather.
Was that also the coldest game you ever played in? I mean, you guys are down there in Houston, but that's in the days of the AFC Central when you played against Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. And you guys obviously come from the Astrodome. But was that the coldest you ever were, or was it worse another time when you went up to Cleveland, Cincinnati, or did you have to go up to play Green Bay, Chicago, or someplace like that?
We played Cleveland one day.
Yeah.
And I think it was that same year, 78 or 70, I don't know. It was 78 or 77 when Bum was coaching. And they had to scrape the tarp off the field. It was a crystal clear day. They had to scrape the tarp off the field in order for us to, play. And part of the tarp was down at the south end or north end of the field, whatever it was. And you had to run over it because they couldn't scrape it up. And you'd breathe your breath, you just watch it drift down the football field. It was like, I think the temperature was like 5 degrees and the chill factor was minus 15.
Oh.
And I'm standing on the sideline with a jacket around me, big, one of those long jackets and another jacket on top. And Bum comes up to me and says, "You gonna warm up?" I said, "This is as warm as I'm getting." So that was the most miserable day. But Billy White Shoes Johnson, he ran back an 85-yard punt return, and I guarantee he ran 350 yards to get it. He was all over that field, and guys were slipping all over the place. It was pretty fun to watch.
Going back to your induction into the Houston Sports Hall of Fame, you were inducted alongside of golfing legend Jackie Burke, plus four-time Indianapolis 500 winner A.J. Foyt and former heavyweight champion George Foreman. In your speech, you told the story about how you lobbied for members of the Oilers to get to be able to play in the Houston Open. Cowboys got invited, but you guys weren't getting invited. And when they finally did, you get paired with Jackie Burke, and the next thing you know, you guys win the Pro-Am. Tell that story.
We did. It was really, we were just kind of the other team in Texas in the early years, and with no respect, even locally, we didn't have it. We'd have people around town with Dallas stickers on their car, bumper stickers on their cars, and it was just really kind of frustrating. But to not get invited, to the golf tournament that your hometown team, none of us did. So finally, I guess the director of the golf association here knew our coach King Hill, and King Hill was a great golfer. So he said, "You tell Pastorini he's going to play next year." So he put me with Jackie Burke, and we wound up winning the damn thing. And I think I sunk the birdie putt on the only putt I've ever sunk in my life on the 18th green, and it was like Jackie won the Masters again. We had more fun. Jackie's, God rest his soul. He's such a good man, and just he would stop doing whatever he was doing to talk golf or to help you or anything. Just he was a great, great man. AJ Foyt was my hero growing up as a kid. I was always a big race fan, race boats and race cars. George Foreman, I mean, he's the reason I never stepped in a ring. I mean, the guy would hit like a mule.
Speaking of the word fun, Dan, when you're out playing around of golf, who are the guys that you really enjoy being around that make not only the round of golf fun, but just the fellowship and hanging out and being with the fellows? Who do you enjoy going out and playing a fun round of golf with?
I like to go out with Enos Cabell and Jeff Blum, who another announcer for the Astros. We just played in a tournament last week. Todd Callis is a good friend of mine. Sparks is a good friend of mine. Those guys are pretty much fun to play with. I mean, who doesn't have a really good day when you play with friends? You're always going to have a good day on the golf course, no matter how poorly you play. So, good friends, good times, and that's all you need, really.
Dan, just one more before I let you go, and it's really just so our listeners can stay up to date with you and learn more about the event that you hold each year. How can they find out more information about it, get involved with it, and then stay up to date with anything that you're doing out there on social media?
Well, we're on Facebook, and I have a Facebook page myself. But we have our Be an Angel Facebook. Go on there and get all kinds of information. Go to beanangel.org, and that's our website that has all the functions. Dan Pastorini Charities has a website that has the information about the golf. But remember, Be an Angel, because that's where all of our stuff is centrally located. So you go there, you'll find out about everything.
Dan, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your evening to come back and be a part of the show. Like I said at the top, it is always a privilege to get to sit down and spend some time with you. As you know, you're in our Guest Hall of Fame for a reason, because you're absolutely one of our all-time favorite guests. Thank you so much. I hope we get this privilege again soon.
I'm sure you will, sir, and I'm honored that you allow me to come on your show, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for your kind words.
Take care, Dan. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Okay, Chris. Thank you.
See you, Dan.
Bye-bye.
That is the great Dan Pastorini, or as my former co-host over on Thursday Night Tailgate, Bob Lazare, used to say, Dante Anthony Pastorini, a good Irish boy from San Francisco, California. Dan has been a wonderful friend. Like I say, this is the 10th time I've had the privilege of spending some time with him. We go all the way back to March 15th of 2012, so over a dozen years now. I can't thank him enough for his time to come back and share more of his stories, and he's got 1,000 of them. So we'll try to get him back on the show a little bit later on this year or early next year to hear more of those. You talk about the guy who's the most interesting man ever? Well, Dan Pastorini certainly has to be in that conversation. From his college days to his days in Houston playing for Bum Phillips and alongside Earl Campbell and Billy White Shoes Johnson and all the great guys on Love You Blue for the Oilers, and then getting traded. It was kind of a swap. He and Kenny Stabler, he goes to Oakland, then he's playing for Al Davis, and they had a very contemptuous relationship that he has told us about in the past. Maybe we can get him to tell a little bit of that story again, and then all the folks that he was around during his racing days and the wonderful ladies he got an opportunity to spend some time with, and the career after playing football. It's amazing stuff, and Dan is just a wonderful human being on top of all of that. Can't thank him enough. We'll get him back on the show and get more stories for you again very soon. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this very special segment of the show. Again, thanks to Dan. Thanks to you for tuning in and making Next on the Tee a part of your weekly golf content. I can't thank you all enough. You guys are the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts, bar none. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.